So what do two firefighters, a firefighter chaplain, a drunken woman stranded on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere on a freezing night in Oregon have to do with the pornography industry? Well, let me tell you a quick story and I'll let you know how it connects. I've got a friend who works as a chaplain for the fire department in Oregon, and he shared a story with me about how late one night on a freezing cold day out in the middle of nowhere, Oregon, they received a call that a woman had broken down on the side of the road. Two firefighters and my friend who is a chaplain showed up a few minutes later to help this damsel in distress, and what they found was a woman who was highly intoxicated, who had been out partying and was dressed for the club scene, and this freezing day, I guess the alcohol keeping her warm there in the middle of the night. And the scene that then unfolded with firemen who on a normal day would run into a burning building to risk their lives to save this woman. Now, both of these firefighters decided this was a tremendous opportunity for them to volunteer to be the one who take this woman back to her home so they could make the most of the situation for themselves. Thankfully for this young woman, my friend who's the chaplain, also one of the largest men that I know, looked at them and said, absolutely not. I'm going to follow you back with her because you're going to put her in her house and you're immediately going to go back to the fire department. So how is it then that these firefighters who would risk their lives and devote themselves to doing dangerous activities saw this as an opportunity for them to take advantage of this young woman? Well, my friend was explaining to me how the fire department in this area of the country, they watch a lot of pornography when they're sitting around with nothing to do in the firehouse, and he was making the connection to how the pornography industry portrays sex, it portrays men, it portrays women, and it had trained these firefighters that this was a tremendous opportunity, and the way this woman was dressed and her intoxicated state was an invitation for them to pursue a sexual relationship. Rather than for these men to say, this young woman is in a desperate, difficult situation, we need to protect and take care of her, the message from the pornography industry was that it was a great time to take advantage of her. And I would argue that it is impossible to soak our brains in the toxic, disturbed perspective of humans and sexuality that the pornography industry portrays, and for it not to impact how we behave and treat one another. In fact, one of the largest websites that distributes porn in the world has just released their top categories list for this past year. And do you know what's not on that list? Romance, love, patience, marriage, relationship. None of those things crack the list. In fact, the list are some pretty disturbing themes and terms that I'm not going to share here on this channel. But famous musician Billie Eilish just shared her story about the impact of pornography addiction, and she discussed some of these same disturbing themes that she fell into with the pornography industry. And the main thing that she talked about in her testimony was the issue of violence, how the pornography that she got involved in was primarily violent. And so for these firemen, as they find a woman who's in distress and who's intoxicated and not dressed appropriately, they saw that as an opportunity to pursue sexual conquest rather than to protect and serve this young woman. Well, let me challenge you. Check out my video where I talked about Billie Eilish's story and her testimony, where she confirms 5 key components of the issue of pornography in our day that channels like this one, Soulfire 209, have been talking about for some time. Like this video if you found it helpful, subscribe if you want to see more content, and let me know in the comments, what do you think? Is the pornography industry pushing some pretty toxic themes onto young people and folks like these firemen in our day? This is Jason for Soulfire. I will catch you in the next one.